So I give a challenge to all of my Jilly Juice crowd now. If you're not going to feel any symptom from the current viral therapeutics out there, and if you have no story about symptoms, if you really have no story about any symptoms, whether it's the COVID or anything else, and you've used jjuice as a cure, then you have no room to be anti-VAXX, because that right there tells me that you're actually in a state of a curative decline, no different than someone who gets a therapeutic to help mediate their environment. So if you can't deal with pain, then you might as well be therapeuticized. You might as well go get a therapy. If you can't deal with pain, if you can't face pain, if you don't have a story about pain around the jjuice, around your specific predispositions, you may have had a story in the beginning and then you plateaued and then you kept doing the jjuice. And then when you saw that there was a COVID, you started diverting the evolutionary symptoms. And so this is my challenge to all of you guys. Now, I'm not trying to be mad at you because you came from one information. Now we're transitioning to a new information. But now I want to hear stories about how you faced not only the COVID, but how you faced the food supply. I want to hear stories of your evolution. That first, yes, is physical. And then also that is spiritual and intellectual. But no, I get videos from people tagging me and stuff, trying to prove that they're doing stuff in biotech. Well, no shiz. We know biotech is doing stuff. It's innovation. But now I challenge those of you who say you understand jjuice, who kind of get that, yes, pain is healing, but you're still using jjuice as a way to divert it. Now it's time for the rubber to meet the road. I don't want to hear people giving lip service to, oh yeah, jjuice is this, jjuice is that, whatever. No, I want to hear now your stories of evolution. If you have no stories of evolution around the pain, then you're diverting the pain, you are anesthetizing yourself, you are washing it away with jjuice, and you are not evolving. You're in a curative state of decline. And so this is the yang again. This is the yang of the Jilly Juice protocol. The yin was bringing up all your evolutionary symptoms from everything that was channel blocked and held at bay through the medical holistic system. Jilly Juice opened up all the gates and allowed all the hormones to run freely. Now there's no diet, so now you have to deal with all of the food supply, not just organic. And I know there's many of you who are in the organic, trying to promote local and plant-based foods, who are not going to survive the next atmosphere because you have nothing to you. You're so skinny and you're very discriminatory and you're diverting evolution. And you're not packing on the pounds. You're not packing on the substance. You're still in your image. You're still promoting an image. You're still angry about people, places, and things. And so that's why I don't see evolutionary anything from some of the people who are still in the anti-vax world, who are still in the holistic healing world, who are still in the activist world. Because you know why? You are anesthetizing yourself with something. I don't know what it is. You're not going to tell me because no, you won't tell me anything about what you're doing. But I could see it in the lack of evolution. I could see it in the lack of communication. I could see it in the I could see it in the anger. I could see it in the videos that you tag me in, that you haven't figured out how to get out of those dualities. And so now I challenge you guys to get the frick off of jjuice, to go get therapeuticized or not, eat all the food supply and deal with your shit, literally and figuratively. And if you need to shit, then use some coffee. But I'm telling you, you are not going to survive this next atmosphere. The next atmospheres that are coming down the pipeline, and they are. This last couple years was just scratching the surface for all of you guys. Just scratching the surface. You have a leg up with the jjuice because you understand pain, but you got to now stop anesthetizing yourself with whatever it is that you're doing, whatever it is, if it's the cannabis, if it's the Jilly Juice, if it's avoiding foods, if it's playing the discrimination game. You can't afford, you can't. You have to be able to now deal with everything. So I challenge your ass. I challenge you people on my jjuice crowd. And if you're fighting me on this, and you know you were using jjuice as a cure, and you know you were not evolving, and you know you were playing discrimination game as far as the food supply, you're still promoting plant-based, You're still promoting local food. You're still promoting organic, and you're still demonizing the industry that, yes, has to play both sides because they give life and they also have to help control the decline so you don't freaking glitch and take people down with you, which you already are doing. A lot of you are taking people down with you and you don't even know it because, first of all, I mean, you're not talking about your pain. You're not talking your evolution. You're not talking about really anything except for you're still back in the looping of the curative decline. And my new information is not really resonating with a lot of people. And I get that. But remember, Jilly Juice is about evolution. Okay, so when you do Jilly Juice, you hit a plateau. Okay, so you hit a plateau, there's no more evolution. Something is wrong with that, right? This is where you have to look at, okay, am I doing too much J juice when I hit a plateau? And that's why I went from the pink salt to the white salt, so I can get more of the evolution to open up the channels, because the pink salt was not strong enough. Obviously, people were plateauing too soon. Now you're going to plateau after doing the white salt, and then you're going to get off the J juice, be at a proportional size, eat every single food, and deal with all these viruses without taking anything for your pain, not even J juice. That is what I challenge everybody in my group. I challenge you to take the kale. If that brings up a lot of stuff, take the kale. If you're avoiding J juice because it's bringing up stuff, then that means you need to actually do it. If you're avoiding food because it's bringing up stuff, it means you need to do it. And I want to see some kind of, I want you guys to really start evolving, not just in your body, but in your spirit, in your head. And I know it's not happening because you are in a curative state of decline. If you can't change your arguments, that's the indicator. When you're still anti-vax, that's a fucking indicator you don't understand the therapeutics. I know some of you are still, demonizing your political leaders because of what they have to do to deal with the population that they've created, yes. But hey, whatever, you created kids that have issues. You're going to have to now go and reteach your kids how shit works. And so if you don't understand that the therapeutics are there to give people a mediation, and then the J juice was there to give you a mediation, to give you a backup so you know you can handle the viruses and the symptoms, that you had the food supply, you had a little bit of J juice that wasn't antibiotic that helped the energy, but as soon as you plateaued, you stopped evolving. And then now, yeah, you're saying, okay, I get the J juice, but I still see the arguments out there against everything in the system. I don't see you promoting your evolution to your friends and family. I don't see that at all. And that's why I think I get very frustrated with people that speak out both sides of their mouth. They say one thing and do another, and then they still are demonizing those things out there that are for an intermediary. And you're not talking about your evolutionary symptoms with the COVID, because you're probably washing it away with all the therapeutics as well as the J juice. Good morning. And so my challenge to all of you Jilly Juice people is to finally get off the J juice. Now go and deal with your environment. Take off the mask. You say you take off the mask, but I don't hear any evolutionary symptoms. And no, you're not 100%. You know why? Because every single viral variant out there is a new programming. And if you're not reacting to the new programming, you're in a curative state of decline. Because it means that you've anesthetized yourself with something. You're using J juice to divert away the energy. And so you can't tell me that you are actually evolving when there is no evolutionary symptoms that you're willing to speak about. And that's my point, is I want to hear now. See, before it was like, okay, we needed to know that you can handle the symptoms. That as you went through the protocol and you reversed your issues, whatever they were, your predispositions. So now that you reversed your issues, you have the programming of the food supply and of the J juice and of the viruses. Now you know there's new viruses in the environment. So Patricia, I want you now to talk about the new viruses in your environment that you have been afflicted with, and that you got over it, not using Jilly Juice, but you've got over it with using your diaphragm. You blew your nose. You ate a steak. You ate this food. You ate that food, not as an antibiotic like a spice, but you actually use the food supply to help you support the DNA rebuilding and the recoding because of the new viral variant that recoded all your DNA. I don't want to hear how you are so cured that you have no freaking symptoms, because that doesn't tell me you're evolving. And so I knew something was wrong when all of you are like, oh yeah, everything is great, jjuice is great, and I have no symptoms whatsoever. And I'm like, how is that possible? I'm going to people's houses all the time. You know, the last couple months I've been trying to mitigate doing that because evolving is freaking exhausting. It really is. But it told me that every single time I was around people, that I was having to evolve to the level of that environment. So if you're not evolving to the level of your environment, and just because you took your mask off doesn't mean shit. If you are anesthetizing your way out of the jjuice and you're not feeling tired, you're not feeling like you're having a low blood sugar because of the piezoelectricity, because of the viral variant, if you're not even disclosing what you're dealing with, that's the new part of the Jilly Juice protocol, is now understanding that every single new viral variant is going to be an evolutionary cycle of symptoms. But you reversed all your other issues. You've healed your body from the cancer, from the disease, from the autoimmune disorders, from all the different stuff that was plaguing you in your genetic line. Now you have to evolve to every single new variant out there, and it's going to be happening. And that's what I want to hear, is that you guys are now finally evolving to the level of your environment, not talking about ultimately you're in a cured state of decline. Okay? And so that's what I mean by evolution. That's what I mean, is that you can get on Facebook and talk about, wow, I survived all this. Last week I had a cold, got over it in 4 days, been maskless, and I've been around someone who has been vaxxed. Okay, so they've been vaxxed, who cares? But see, you tell me this now, but you don't share it with the world. You don't share it as a testimony. See, and that's the thing, is that the fact that you don't share that you were exposed to people with all these different whatever, and that you got over it with the food supply, not with jjuice, but with the food supply, and you dealt with it. You were down for 5 days. You were down for 4 days, or you worked through it because you knew you could handle it. That's what I mean by sharing with your community, that you can handle the symptoms. But no, you guys don't do that. Either you keep it to yourself because whatever, or you're not experiencing it whatsoever. And that's what I mean by speaking out both sides of your mouth. You guys are not willing to help out your community and understand that they can get through these symptoms backed up by the food. They need to get their ionic channel gates open in the beginning to get everything released. But I don't hear that you're getting over these things very quickly, or that you're not, that you've been exposed and you've felt these things. I want to hear it all, but I know that, see, that's the thing. Did I set it up to where I make you feel like you shouldn't talk about that? Not necessarily. I said, no, as long as you characterize jjuice correctly, as long as you characterize your symptoms correctly. And why don't you share it with the community? You're in my group, Patricia. What's wrong with sharing this stuff? And so, yes, I do get frustrated because even though I know part of my information was in the development stage, you could still have been sharing your situation. Okay? And when people don't share their situation, why is it? It's easy to piggyback off of my information and mirror what I'm saying and act as if that's what you were doing all along. I don't know your true intentions because you don't disclose when people actually disclose stuff without responding to me, it means that they have no agenda. They're just responding to what is going on in their environment. But when you tell me after the fact, that's like trying to find a way to say, well, I've been doing it anyways. I had known all along. And I don't like that. Why don't you preemptively disclose what's going on in your world? Why do you always have to respond to me what's going on in your world based upon what I'm saying? So that's where I get frustrated, because I know many people want to feel like they're up on the jjuice game and they're up on all the stuff that I've been talking about like 2 years ago. I knew this 5 years ago. I knew this 2 years ago. Why the fuck are you not sharing this to your friends and family? If you've known all this stuff all along, why aren't you sharing it with my Jilly Juice group that you're part of with me? Because when you actually preemptively put up information, it means that you have no agenda. You're just talking about things that you're experiencing based upon your perception of it at the time. And then I can go in and be like, okay, yeah, you've been experiencing, I did the same thing. I was exposed to this person and I've been down for 2 weeks, but I only used jjuice twice. And I had the COVID and it was pretty intense, but I had no agenda except to tell you exactly what I've been experiencing. And so why don't you do that, Patricia? That's my issue. Telling me after the fact, responding to me doesn't make a difference to me. I'm going to be quite honest. If you're not preemptively giving people information prior to me, then it means that I don't know what it means. I can't even speculate. But what exactly are you promoting in your community? What exactly are you trying to promote out there? Because you're not giving anybody any information in your community as well as my community. I'm the one that's giving the information, and none of you are giving, some of you are giving me information. Yes, Jolie. Thank God for Jolie. Thank God for John. Thank God for Bridget. Thank God for those, thank God. And Patricia, you have been helpful, but you haven't been helpful in a way of really talking about your journey, because you're waiting for me to say something and then you say stuff about your situation. Preemptive is like, okay, this is my experience. And then when you say, well, I got over it in 4 days because I took jjuice, well, then did you really deal with it? And the fact that you mentioned vax, okay, what's your point with that? But just because you got over it in 4 days doesn't mean anything, because people can take antibiotics. They can go get a ventilator. They can go do jjuice and get over it in 4 days. Okay, so that's the thing. If you're in this situation, why don't you talk about it? I just got exposed to somebody. Now I'm down for this many days. You saw me go through all the processes. That's what I mean by being honest with what your experiences are without using me as a backdrop to then say, well, I already knew this anyways. And so, no, I'm not super impressed by those that piggyback off my information. People have done that next to me so many times. They never preemptively bring up anything. They never preemptively tell me anything. They always tell me after the fact. Patricia goes, okay, now I'll tell you as I go. I guess I never thought of this way, but now. Well, because here's the thing. Are you helping only yourself, which is good, but are you also giving information to my group is there. You're posting right here in a very, very, not a very, it's like an obscure place. It's going to get lost in the newsfeed. If you want to help yourself and help the world, right, Christina, then post in my group and give people data. And so I had to rely on maybe a few handful of people to give me some data so I can start working from that. But I can tell those that are still stuck in the activism, there's no evolution going on in the brain or the spirit. There's none. You may feel some, difference in symptoms, but there really is there's no major evolution going on in the body or in the mind and the spirit. And so when you're using jjuice as a cure, Christina Roy goes, well, I so understand pains. I met you, Jillian. Thank you. It's even more than that. Now you have to now get off of jjuice, Christina. Well, you need to do the kale because you don't like kale. So now you need to do the freaking kale, because if it gives you inflammation on the kale, you do the kale, you drink water, and you deal with your shiz. Because then maybe you'll understand where I'm coming from when it comes to a lot of the different revelations that I've had. Not saying that you're going to change your religion or change the way you do things. I mean, most likely people who are very embedded in specific religions, which I get, Jehovah's Witnesses are very, very, very entrenched. And there's nothing wrong with Jehovah's Witnesses. But I also want you to understand that there's definitely another side to this that you could also understand and be able to articulate through the scientific side of it. Okay, which I know is going to come in time. But I want you to be able to speak to all listings, not just those that you want to convert. I'm not saying you are, but I'm saying that the premise of religions like Jehovah's Witness, like born again Christians, like, all these different religions out there that are trying to bring in people and followers, there must be a way where you can actually be egalitarian and not only speak to your Jehovah's Witnesses, but also speak to the science community, also speak to the Jewish community, also speak to the Muslim community, also speak to so many different communities. And so this is where I want you guys to learn how to speak to all the different listings, not just your political interest group, not just your anti this and anti that and pro this and pro that. That's what I mean by evolving, and not just your body, but in your mind, where you're not discriminatory in who you target. That you understand all sides of an issue. And yes, understanding pain, but understand that pain, there's when you actually experience pain for what it is, it does change you in how you deal with people, and then what you will tolerate, what you won't tolerate. And so now I challenge all of you guys on the Jilly Juice protocol to finally actually outline your healing or your symptomatic process. Okay, because you watched me do it. So why couldn't you take cues from me? If I'm recording all of what I'm doing, and if you're not, then what are you hiding? When you preemptively say stuff, and then you tell people you can survive your heart attack. You can, I mean, that's what some people did. You know, they talk about they had some kind of mini heart attack because they had to evolve their heart. There's no way around it. You have to have electricity go through your heart so it can actually heal. And so as long as you characterize it correctly, you can tell people that you've survived all these major evolutionary symptoms. Some may be very small, like a little mucus, like a little cold. But if you're using jjuice, this is the thing though. This is where honesty is like paramount. And I don't know how honest people are, but I'm going to be as honest as possible. I told you I did 2 shots of jjuice during the 2 weeks. And then I was on every single freaking day coughing. Well, not every single day. I think I took a day off because I just needed to rest. I may have taken a couple of days off. But I mean, you guys are the pioneers in your community. You are the pioneers in your community. And I know many images are being put out there because you have a reputation to uphold. There's other things going on in your world that jjuice, if you actually got off the jjuice, it would get in the way of your productivity. And that is what is going to work against you. All of your anger around a person, place, or thing is going to work against you. See, the jjuice will reflect exactly your intentions. And I see it already. I see the jjuice reflecting exactly people's intentions because people are still looping in the same stuff. I don't see evolution in a lot of people. And so I knew that the crystals out there, they reflect the same intention. That's why I say get off the crystal healing crap. Get off those things that because that's the thing. The crystals are basically, they open up channels and then you put all these minerals in the crystals, so they're all dark and different colors. Then they channel block, and that's why Oprah and all these people out there in the holistic whatever world, they're all playing with these crystals. Where there's a white crystal like the salt that opens up ions, and then you have the dark crystals, the dark crystal, right? Jim Henson's Muppets, the dark crystal, then are channel blocking. They are negative elements that channel block people. And that's what the what is it called? The organite, all that shit channel blocks people. And so I see it now when people are using all these different things to channel block or channel open and keep the gates open or keep the gates closed. And so now I want to see evolution on such an exponential level that's not just, oh, I reverse this. No, maybe you channel block that. Now I want to see you guys know that you can get through all the symptoms without using jjuice. I want to see you get through the symptoms without using channel blockers or channel openers. I want to see you guys cut down on your freaking expenses so that way you can fucking rest. Because I'm telling you, if money is your God, you're going to use jjuice to give you that false sense of energy. And then you're going to cannibalize yourself because the electricity in the environment and the viruses are going to kick your ass. And you don't want to be down for the count because you don't have time to be unproductive. And so you'll keep doing the jjuice and keep doing all the channel blocking or channel opening so you don't feel anything until there's nothing left in your body. So the whole point with jjuice was to feel the pain, but then people took advantage of it. And I'm like, In my head, I knew I had to get off the jjuice at some point. I mean, in my head, I was like, okay, I've done enough of it. I can handle the environment. I can handle the pain. I couldn't say that to all of you guys because I can't tell you what you can deal with, what you can't deal with. But at some point, you're going to have to get off the jjuice and actually talk about your experiences with pain. And seriously, get off the jjuice. But if jjuice is making you feel pain, then you stay on it. So Christina, again, if the kale is giving you problems, then you freaking get on that kale and you measure that energetic, ionic forces of opening up your channels. And you eat the food supply. And you deal with all of it. But now the tides have turned because we can't afford to go into this next environment at such a deficit, playing the same games. Because I'm telling you, when one of my people got a therapeutic, they've been doing jjuice every single day, so of course they're not feeling any pain, right? They've energized all the evolution away, so they got a therapeutic and started feeling evolution. So it means that the therapeutics are actually working for you. So now you can't be anti-whatever. You can't be anti-whatever. I had to pick apart the therapeutics to understand what exactly they were doing. Okay, girl, I'll do that. Been easing in, so I will make... Okay, very good. But I had to figure out what exactly these therapeutics were doing. I had to actually pick apart the T cells, the B cells, the adaptive and the innate, the search and destroy, the agonist antibodies, the programming, the mRNA, all that. I had to understand every single aspect of it so I got what was going on. But that's no different than when you get exposed to a viral telomere, a virus protein that's new and different, that's going to then upload information into your telomeres, and it's going to recode everything. And then you got to feel the evolutionary symptoms, and that's going to come out in mucus, and come out in headaches. It's going to come out in pain in different parts of your body. And so the vector therapeutics are no different than meeting that virus in your environment, but it's at a lesser version of it. So now you can't be anti-vax at all. And if you are, then you are not evolving. I don't want to hear bullshit. I don't want to hear anything from you. Because then what I see is on your Facebook, you're anti-vax and you're bashing Boris and whoever else in the UK or in America. And then you're telling me all about, oh yeah, I believe what you're doing. I love what you're doing, and this is what I'm doing, and da da da. And so then I see two sides, two parts of you. I don't see an alignment. And then I get pissed. But I'm still going to keep you on because I know it's an evolutionary process and you've been around for a while. And so I let things go. But I tell you, I'm very aware of those that are very two-sided still yet again, who have not evolved, who are anti, who are still in the freaking arguments of anti and pro, who are still playing the duality game, don't understand both sides of the story. And so I don't really truly believe you are evolved until you can finally get off those stupid arguments, until you actually can feel the pain and stop using jjuice as a way to anesthetize you. And that goes for the people in my group that I've been on, that I've tagged, that are using jjuice as a cure in lieu of Advil. So they don't do jjuice at all until they get a pain. When they get a pain, they do shit ton of jjuice every single day. And they are using jjuice as a cure. And that's exactly how jjuice gets abused. Yes, and you've done it too, Odd, okay? I see your posts about against the vaccines. Oh, the vaccine, you do this. But I understand. I get where you're coming from, and I have a lot more patience with you because you've been around for a while, and it's peeling back the layers and the layers and the layers. And then, and you still have to get through, and you probably haven't felt the symptoms in such a level, and maybe you're very distracted on other things that you're not putting forth the evolution. And so when I see that, and I see it in other people, then I'm just like, dude, I've been talking about this whole playing the dualities. When you can actually say Bill Gates, there's something to Bill Gates. When you actually can argue for why they have the mask mandates, or why they want everyone to be therapeuticized. Not that's going to happen. It's not going to happen. We have 7 billion people on this freaking planet. You think we're all going to be on the same biochemical programming? No, we're not. We're going to have so many people mutate viruses because we're in a global community. There's no way to get around it. And maybe that's the intention. And so when you see that's the intention, that they're trying to get everybody on the same page, but it's like herding cats, then you now have to be a higher power, a higher voice. Instead of playing to the two sides, be the higher power. I get only jokes, but you realize that the jokes are coming off as political. Okay. I mean, I want you guys to help your community and help yourself. I can't tell you what you should post on your Facebook. I can only see what you post, and then I take it for what you know. What we post on Facebook is exactly where our head's at. We don't make jokes unless there's some element of truth to it, or we wouldn't give it energy. We only give energy to things that we somewhat believe in. Whether we want to divulge how much we believe in or not, we give energy to things that we want to keep sustaining. And so when I block people off my Facebook, I don't want to give them any energy that they're trying to promote to me that I'm totally against. I'm not going to block you, Odd. That was never my intention, and I don't want to do that. But I want to show you guys I recognize a lot of the speaking at both sides of the mouth with a lot of my jjuice crowd. And I want you guys to bring yourself to a higher level of something. You may not be ready for it yet. I don't know. But we're heading into some very turbulent times. It's already been turbulent. But this whole false sense of security of opening up the society because they think that a certain percentage has been vectorized, it's not going to help. And so, so now you got to prove to yourself and prove to your community that you can handle the symptoms, that you haven't, like I put on my, I've not been therapized. I was not taking stuff for 2 shots of jjuice. That was it. I was not taking anything else but the 2 shots of jjuice and the coffee and the food supply. And I slept a lot. And so if that's what it takes to get through any kind of viral variant, that'll be easy for people if they understand it. But then they have to get through the predispositions. You went through predispositions in the beginning of jjuice. I don't know what they were. But if you have a list of all the different issues that you had when you first started jjuice, and then people can be like, okay, I have a list. I have like 5 things that I know is wrong with me. And then I do the jjuice and more stuff's going to come to surface. I've plateaued. I'm going to get off the jjuice and deal with everything else in the environment. Because all the different symptoms are based upon you adapting to the level of your environment. Okay, and so once you plateau on the jjuice and you reverse your issues and they're not diagnosable conditions, which if you're obese, you can do that, but if you're underweight, you can't do that because you can't afford it. You can't afford it. And that's the thing even with the holistic industry. Not everybody can afford the remedies that are out there. That's why they have to have a doctor determine whether or not you should get a vector, whether or not you should be okay for this operation or this transplant or whatever. And so even the jelly juice, if you're underweight, you need to lay it off. Well, I know you haven't given a big tip because I've still got a major, but you don't need to give testimony on that. Just lay out what's going on, that your body is working through stuff. You're going through an evolution. And so here's the thing. You'll be able to handle it all. You will be able to handle it all. And so your community will too as well. She's like, I know you're not going to block me. Of course not, Odd. I love you guys. You and Lynn, you guys have been around for a while. You've seen through all the different evolution. I have a lot of loyalty and a lot of patience for those that have been around for a while. I truly do. So I have a lot of loyalty and I have a lot of patience. And so when those that haven't been around for a while and are trying to now, throw their weight around, by giving so many testimonies and then say, I want to be, like a therapist or whatever, or a nutritionist, and I just don't have any patience. And so those who've been around, they've earned their way into evolution. When you're new on my Facebook, I don't have a lot of patience. Which means you got to hang back and not be sharing too much stuff. And Patricia goes, I will ski now. Well, yeah, I'm 142. And Patricia, I'm not trying to get on you like horrifically, but I want you guys to just get to the next level, whatever that is. I don't know what it is, but I want to make sure that you guys are going down the road that I'm going, because I see the light at the end of the tunnel. We all have different predispositions that we're working through. It's okay, and I understand that you don't want to share it with your issues, and I get that. We all have them. You don't have to share them unless you don't want to. And that's the whole, the whole Privacy Act that we've been taught not to share our medical history because it's, no one's business. But that's the only way we're going to know that people can survive their predispositions. But I didn't want people to share that too much in the beginning because people were still very scared. Like, I understand where you're coming from. But I dealt with all of my predispositions, and I dealt with COVID, which I thought I could have been, like, if I was dealt with COVID 5 years ago, in the body that I had 5 years ago, I probably wouldn't survive it, or I'd be in the hospital. Like, I know where I would be if I hadn't done the jjuice and built up my body and built up my stamina to deal with symptoms. Because this last year, dealing with the headaches, dealing with the skin inflammation, the hot and cold flashes, all of that, dealing with it all gave me the gumption and gave me the wherewithal and gave me the faith that I knew my body can get through it. Okay, and that's great, Patricia. Okay, so that's the things I want you guys to put out there to your community, is that you can handle all the symptoms and you'll survive them, and you're eating the food supply. And then here's how you can characterize jjuice. It opens up your ionic gates. It allows the freedom of your hormones to finally be released. And then that's why the dreams are so intense. That's why the dreams, and that's why, your symptoms are so intense, because finally you get to feel the evolution of your hormones that were held back from the channel blockers. Or you kind of like close up a few channels, not close them up, but kind of regulated them so they're not releasing so much. Because, that's what pot does and cannabis does. It keeps the dopamine channel gates open on a continuous basis, so people don't feel anything. Okay? And so this is what the whole point of the jilly juice is, the fact that in the beginning, you open up the channels and you tell people, now you got to deal with viruses, you got to deal with your symptoms, and you have to eat the food supply. You can't be discriminatory in the food supply. You cannot be discriminatory. You can't afford it. You need the fat, you need the meat, you need the milk, you need the proteins, you need the carbohydrates and the sugars. There is no difference between organic and refined. It's all the same shit. So don't even put out there, you need to have this kind of that. Those that are very in the holistic world, promoting local-based, plant-based, whatever, they're not going to survive aggressive environments. They are the ones that are going to be the sacrificial lambs. Everyone in the holistic allopathic, promoting local this, local that don't understand Bill Gates, are going to be the sacrificial lambs. And you're going to watch it in your friends and family that are heavily into the holistic allopathic, discriminatory, political, against GMO, pro-organic, and all plant-based. They're going to be the sacrificial lambs. And I don't want that to happen to any of you. A handful of people that have been following me loyally. The ones that are halfway fair weather jilly juicers, they're skinny, and they're still promoting the conspiracy in the biotech. They're not taking to my information, and they are probably not eating the food supply. And they're probably doing a shiz ton of jjuice so they can wash away their evolution. And so I don't hold out much hope for them. Or they're working so much because they're so money hungry that they're not willing to give time to their evolution and to their symptoms. They're also going to be washed away with the rest of the people who are greedy for money. And so if you don't have what it takes to back up your greed for money, you're going to be supernova, because there's no substance behind your overinflated stock price. And that's what's going on out there. We have people who are very slight, very skinny, very, very slight. They're using jjuice as a way to wash away all their symptoms, and they're out there producing because, yes, they have a newfound intellect because of the light of the jjuice, but there's no freaking body to them. And so when they get exposed to a virus and it's going to kick their ass, they're not going to know what to do with it. So they're going to take jjuice and wash it away, and there's no substance to them. And then guess what? There's no insulation, no adipose tissue, the fat, the brown fat and the white fat around their heart and their other organs to protect them from those electrical forces. And then, yes, that's when organ failure happens. And that's what's going to happen for those that are underweight, that have been diagnosed with cancer, disease, chronic illness, autoimmune disorders, who are consummate pot smokers, who are using the turmeric and the honey and all the spices and all the different holistic whatever, who are using all the REIKI and the therapy and the acupuncture. All those people out there are going to be taken down notches, if not taken out altogether, because they won't have what it takes to handle the piezoelectricity, and they don't have the substance behind them, and they don't have the gumption to handle the evolution, the symptoms. And so you guys now must be those that can handle and talk about it. Whether it's in my group, now is the time to talk about your symptoms if you can. And I don't care. You can scare everybody you want. You say whatever you got to say, but it's not like jelly juice caused it. This is your symptoms. You were born with having these blocks. I had a mass of whatever, on my body somewhere. I'm not gonna say where because it's like, okay, but I had a mass of something that I could feel it shifting. Like when I touched it, I couldn't like hold on to it. It would keep slipping back and forth. And I'm just like, what the hell is this? And I touched it again and it's not there. Okay? And so we all were born with, whether it was done to us as a kid or whether it was something that we were predisposed to through genetic lines, was some kind of unbalanced hormonal immune system type of issue. And so we all have predispositions. jjuice doesn't cause anything. So that's where you have to understand that you can talk about your symptoms and what's coming up for you because of the ionic gates opening, allowing you to finally evolve and feel something, feel and heal. Okay? And now your body is dealing with it with the food supply, with the meat, with the milk, with the eggs, with the cheese, with the donuts, with with this. And you're not washing away your symptoms or any of the whatever with the jjuice. But you had to open up those hormonal gates and those ionic gates so you could finally take advantage of your hormones that have been under lock and key for many, many centuries. And many of your friends who are in the allopathic holistic activist world are not going to understand this, but at least you're going to drop some seeds and give them some glimmer of hope, if anything. Maybe. You might not, and that's okay. So, I'm not trying to say that you have to talk about your stuff on your page. Say what you got to say, Odd, but I glance at your pages sometimes, you guys. I don't follow you and be like, oh my God, I'm not trying to police you guys, but I notice thought processes out there. I dealt with predispositions in first year. I had tons going on. I then gave myself a new one because needed stuff to do. So went back to yoga and hurt myself. Yoga. That's why I take it off the yoga, guys. Glad I had a year of clearing before that because I wouldn't have healed the past 2 years. If not, the dreams I have, I know I'll get through this too. Yeah, get off the yoga and all the stretchy shit, you guys. The working out, the yoga, all the different freaking Pilates, everything else that they're doing out there in the trendy world, it's going to work against you. In this environment, I know. Yeah, fucking yoga. Yeah, and here's the thing, they were all there for a reason because it did come from, here's the thing, in India, a lot of the cult leaders came from India, okay? And so you have to understand that a lot of these holistic types of energy comes from third world nations that are about controlling your energy, siphoning your energy and controlling your energy. I'm not saying all, but a lot of these cultures that are into these spiritual stuff, they come from third world countries that are half first world and half third world. Because there's still biotech in India. There's still biotech, in Mexico and Israel and all these different countries. And so when you look at the derivation of yoga and Pilates and all these different types of stretchy spiritual stuff, it all comes from third world countries that are using these ancient methods to human sacrifice in a lot of ways. And that's why the spicy foods, it keeps people in a stilted state. So, I'm not trying to be, discriminatory, but I mean, you have to understand the derivation from all of these different holistic type of therapies. The tantric sex came from these third world countries. Okay? And so you got to understand that a lot of these methodologies, these modalities, and these methodologies are coming from the ancient world of human sacrifice. The Incas, the Mayans, the Sumerians, they practiced all this type of, pranayama, whatever, yoga, all that stuff. Okay? So you got to understand that, antiquity is not that far away. away. Antiquity actually is being practiced right now. Everything from antiquity is being practiced right now. But it's in the holistic energy healing world. I've met a few gurus that are in that stuff when I went to Portugal. Okay, so I had firsthand knowledge of dealing with these demigods that are giving people advice on how to manipulate their hormones to get these spiritual awakenings. And then, yeah, the ayahuasca, all these different drum circles and retreats and all that stuff are all based upon things that not only happened in the 1960s, but from ancient times and knowledge of how to sacrifice human slowly. So that's all I'm going to say. You guys have a good day, but good luck. Good luck. But I challenge now everybody in my Jelly Juice crowd to finally deal with your evolution and stop washing it away and start evolving. My dog. You see her? She's so cute. My dog is doing great. She hasn't peed the bed in the last 2 weeks. Or had a seizure. All right. Bye.